Title: The Shadows of Whitechapel, an original narrative of Jack the Ripper. London, autumn of 1888. The gas lamps hissed in the biting mist as the alleys of Whitechapel twisted like the veins of a dying thing. Smoke rose from chimneys with the scent of coal and despair. It was here, in the soot-cloaked underbelly of Victorian society, that evil found fertile soil. It whispered through the night like a silk ribbon drawn across a razor's edge, unseen, yet always near. Inspector Elias Hawthorne stood at the edge of Buck's Row, his coat sodden, the crimson-soaked body of Mary Ann Nichols before him. Her eyes stared skyward, empty, reflecting nothing but the smog-veiled gaslight above. There was no sign of panic, no scream reported, only silence and sudden death. "Same as the others," muttered Constable Green beside him, voice tight. "Clean cuts, precise." Hawthorne didn't answer. His eyes traced the cobblestones, lingering on the spatter patterns. He was not a man prone to superstition, but something about these killings struck him beyond the realm of the sane. They were messages, he believed, artworks left by a soul unhinged. Days passed. Another victim, Annie Chapman. She was found behind 29 Hanbury Street. This time the mutilations were worse, deliberate, almost anatomical. Soon after, the Central News Agency received a letter. It was written in red ink, bearing a signature that would ignite fear across generations. "Dear boss, yours truly, Jack the Ripper." The handwriting was meticulous, elegant even, as if the killer mocked their efforts, toying with them. Hawthorne read the letter beneath flickering lamplight in his office, the city groaning like a wounded animal beyond the windows. "Do you believe it's him?" asked Sergeant Wilkins. "I don't believe anything anymore," Hawthorne replied. "But this is not madness without intellect. He wants to be known, not as a man, but a myth." Later, more letters arrived, some crude, some poetic. One included a fragment of a kidney, preserved in spirits. The forensic men paled. Hawthorne grew grim. It wasn't just performance, it was ritual. He started sleeping in his office, reading medical journals, interviewing mortuary attendants. No detail was too small. The streets turned paranoid. Hawkers sold Ripper-themed charms, and tabloids ran wild with theories. The police, under fire, fumbled amidst the chaos. Yet Hawthorne kept walking the alleys, night after night. The deeper he went, the more he saw the patterns, how the murders followed a rhythm, like chapters in a morbid novel. And then came the double event. Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes. One found in Dutfield's yard, throat slit. The other in Mitre Square, grotesquely butchered. Near Eddowes on the wall, someone had scrawled in chalk, "The Jews are the men that will not be blamed for nothing." Hawthorne had it scrubbed away, not because it was a clue, but because it was a spark to a racial inferno already simmering. The city could not afford another fire. Still, something in that message gnawed at him. He visited Jewish tailors, stonemasons, rabbis. None recognized the phrasing. He wondered if the killer planted it, or if it was coincidence. Yet in this case, coincidence was the cruelest lie. Months passed, no arrests. The letters kept coming, each more theatrical than the last. Hawthorne began to piece together a profile. This was no madman, no common butcher. He was intelligent, methodical, perhaps a surgeon, or an actor. Someone who moved unseen, but always at the edge of a crowd. He started watching the pubs, the apothecaries, the libraries. One night, at the Ten Bells pub, he met a man named Edward Crane. Pale, soft-spoken, with fingers that trembled not from fear, but from restraint. They spoke of Shakespeare, of the divine geometry of the human form, of art and decay. When Crane left, Hawthorne found himself unsettled. The man had said, "To be unseen, one must become the fog itself." It echoed in Hawthorne's mind. He had him followed. Crane vanished days later. No record, no past, as if the mist had swallowed him whole. Hawthorne broke into his flat. It was pristine, too pristine. The walls bore nothing. But in the hearth, buried in ash, was a charred glove. And within the glove, a gold signet ring etched with the initials EC. October gave way to November. Cold and rot clung to the alleys like a second skin. The killings had slowed, but tension crackled like frost beneath foot. Hawthorne followed new leads. A theater troupe reported a prop scalpel missing. A butcher's apprentice went mad and confessed, only to reveal he'd never left the city center. A visiting doctor from Prague claimed to study hysteria, but left quietly after questioning. In the shadow of chaos, frauds and frightened men rose like mushrooms. And then Mary Jane Kelly. She was found in her small room at Miller's Court, butchered beyond recognition, the face peeled, organs arranged, the walls wept blood. He'd taken his time. The horror silenced the city for days. No one spoke loudly, no one lingered in the dark. But after that, nothing, as if the Ripper had bled out his last poem and vanished. Hawthorne, broken by sleepless nights and visions of dissected flesh, eventually resigned. The case would remain unsolved. The press would immortalize the Ripper, and the city, forever changed, would seal its wounds with myth. But Hawthorne remembered. He left London, retired to the coast. He tried to forget, to drink, to dream again. Years later, in a sanatorium near the cliffs of Dover, an old man painted endlessly with crimson and black. He called them portraits of silence. No one knew his name, but the staff whispered he spoke of mist and knives and God. One evening, a nurse cleaning his studio pulled back a drape. Beneath it, a painting of an alley, a gas lamp, and a man's face reflected in the wet stones. She asked who it was. The old man smiled, almost tender. He was never caught because he was never found, and he was never found because you all looked for a man. You never thought to look for the fog. This original story is a fictionalized interpretation inspired by historical events. It does not claim to represent factual evidence or known individuals beyond the public knowledge of the Whitechapel murders.